Hi, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Katy Houk, professionally known as L K Houk, and she's the author of a series of 7 children's books with great moral lessons, but they're not really preachy at all. They are a story told by the turkey that lives on the farm, and her series is called Down Home on the Farm. And we're going to hear about that story, Tom T, the first one, and we might hear about some of the others too. And I want to give you first off her website address, lkhouk.com. And that's where you can learn about Katy and all of her books. Not all of them are printed yet. I mean, still they're in production, but the first 3 are ready and are for sale. But the others, the 4th one is at the printers, and then the others are in progress with the illustrations. It takes quite a while for those illustrations. They're all hand done. They're not computer or anything. They're really good. So this is the book that we'll be talking about. We put it over here where you can kind of see it without a glare. Oh, by the way, this background I have is just a piece of tissue paper from my daughter's Arise box thing. And it was so bland, I thought I got to put something up there, but it's really not big enough. But I thought with all of the minus degrees we have right now, minus whatever it is outside, I thought it was nice to see a few flowers and know that spring is on the way. I can't wait.
Indeed.
So this is her first book, Tom T's Tale, and it's bilingual. So not only is it a great story for young children or even middle children, this is the map of the farmyard. And these are all hardback books, by the way, but it's in 2 languages. It's in English and Spanish. So on every page, let me get to one that's just a, well, that's the back. Hang on. Oops. I'm giving away the end. Okay, so on every page that's like this without a picture, well, even if it's with a picture, on one page you might have one whole picture, a picture on the full page, but then the other side will have English on the top and then Spanish on the bottom with a row of turkeys in between. So it's really fun to read it in English and then go back and see if you can read it in Spanish. And on her website, she's got reading comprehension too, which has got a lot of stuff that teachers and parents, homeschool parents, or even just, families, if they're trying to learn a different language or even learn an English language, even if you're going the other way and you're doing English as a second language, this is a great book, a great series for everything. So, Katy, I would like you to tell us what age group this series is for, really. What do you think is best?
When you first pick it up, you think, oh, this is a nice little picture book for little kids. But actually, the way it is written and the syntax and the grammar that I used, it goes from preschool clear through to 4.6 grade point average is what it worked out to be. So
Okay.
it can go for a long way. The pictures are beautiful. They're done in acrylics by Janice Pringle down in Texas, and she does a beautiful job on them. And so you think, oh, picture book, but then when you read the story, there's a little bit more.
Uh-huh. And so what are the benefits for libraries and schools and just regular families?
So we do have them registered with the Library of Congress, so there shouldn't be a problem for libraries. We do have, like I said, we do have it in English and in Spanish. The pictures are lovely. However, at the back of the book, there are also reading comprehension things so that people can, as they read to a child or whatever, they can see questions where they can say, did you understand this, and who was this, and what was happening here? And I think that will be something that's interesting. The little dots that you see that kind of come across in the camera as dots are small turkeys. Actually, we thought that would be a nifty way to
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
cute. Is that what you have in all the books too? Like all this, all
Yes.
the different ones? Like I love
Uh-huh.
this one.
That's the
The
end. Have you ever seen the end of a turkey? That's it.
It's really good. And I love this one. This is really a mood
Oh,
piece.
that one, yes, that one breaks my heart when I see it. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. He just found out that he's going to be Thanksgiving dinner. He's very sad.
Yes.
So, but but anyway, I want you to talk about it, not me.
Uh, well,
Um,
I think Janice captured that so well. I gave her the stories whenever we first got together and decided to do this. I gave her all the stories so she would have the stories to read, but I also gave her a list of reading of suggested illustrations. And occasionally she'll find one, say, I don't like this one. Can I change for thus and such? And she always makes it better.
well, that's an artist.
Yeah.
So, how did you become interested in writing stories? Was there anybody in your life that encouraged you to write?
We are a reading family. My family, when I was growing up, we read all the time, all of us. My parents are readers. My sisters and brother were readers, and that's something that we always did. And whenever I started getting up into junior high and high school, I wrote for the school newsletters and the sorts of things like that. Always we had letters going. Some of my friends in classes, we would start a story and pass it around during class time, and the next person had to do part of the
Yeah,
story.
so
And
you were embellishing it.
yes,
Those
so
are fun, aren't they?
they are. We did
It's kind of
that,
fun to
and
do that on a road trip. I mean, on a road
yes,
trip. That's
right.
yeah.
Right, yeah, sort of like that, yeah. So anyway, I've always written and done a lot. I do have an aunt who has published 24 some odd books. She's almost 97 now, but she published her first book when she was 80. And I wrote my books 40 years ago. So long before she was published, I wrote my books, but she did encourage me.
And how did you get the ideas for the stories? Where did they
Oh,
come
this
from?
is this is very interesting. I hope it's not too long. Uh, whenever we've lived on several different places at different times. My husband is retired military, so we moved around some. But a couple of three different times we were on farms. And at one point, when my son was just very small, just a toddler, we were living on a little farm down in Missouri, and we had gotten some turkeys to raise for Thanksgiving, and we had some chickens, and they were just free range, and cows and pigs and stuff. But one day, as I was making the bed in his room, I looked out the window, and we had some old coffee cans that we had filled with water and put them around the yard so that they could have water available different places. And one of these tall coffee cans had water in it, and the chickens would drink out of it. And then one day I looked out, and there were these chicks trying to jump up to get it up there too. They'd seen the big ones do it, and they wanted to do it too. And just as one got up there and made it up, then it all of a sudden lost its balance and fell into the coffee can of water. And of course, chicks
When?
don't swim. No, they're not made for that. And interestingly enough, a turkey that was 12 inches tall or something, not grown, just a young turkey, was standing not too far away. And I saw him kind of look at it and walk over there and look in, and he picked up the chick and flung it out of the pocket. And I thought, isn't that interesting? I didn't know that they would do things like that. And didn't think too much about it for the next couple of years. And then one night I woke up and I thought, I need to write a story about that. And I did.
And
That's
Tom
how
T was born. But
T
that's
was
based on a
born.
true story then.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And then and I hate for this to sound too woo-woo, but nearly every one of my stories has come to me usually in the middle of the night. And I will wake up and I'll think, I need to go write this down while I'm thinking about it.
It's
And
funny how that is.
it is. And,
I do
some,
that too, like in the middle of the night. I think it's because you're not busy with other things.
that's right. Your brain has time to think over what it wants to think over.
Mhm.
And so that's when most of my writing takes place, is whenever I wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh, it's a good idea. Let's go do that. And of course, back in the day, that was when I went into the kitchen table with a typewriter. That's before we could, and everything was
Well,
done
that's
with.
something, I mean, you could have grabbed a pen and a notebook,
Yeah.
but
So true.
I type faster than I write, but anyway.
Yes.
Um, so what made you decide to publish these stories once you had them written in 40 years ago? So they sat for 40 years. What made you decide to publish?
This is so strange. Well, it's not strange. It's what happens with writers. It's what has happened in the past, especially with writers. Back in the day, you tried to get a publishing house to pick up your book. You sent lots of letters and ideas and things, and it told them who you were and what the books were about and why they would be a good fit. And then you got lots of rejection letters back. Um, and so I had done that for 40 some odd years.
You've
I
already,
had
oh,
been,
I didn't know that.
yes,
Huh.
yes, I had been, I would go through phases where I would hit it like crazy and I think I'm going to do this. And then, after a while you get so disgusted, you think, oh, this is stupid. Why am I wasting all this postage doing this? And because you had to send them, you didn't have email and you had to send them in a brown paper envelope. And so I did that. I had drawers full of rejection notices. And finally, the world was turned around enough times that there was this thing called independent publishing. And I could try to do something myself without having to wait for Simon and Schuster or somebody to want me.
It's funny how few books they really do publish in traditional publishing every year. They just do a few.
Yes,
It's
right.
amazing. And there's
Yes.
so many writers and yeah,
Right. Well, and one of the things that was interesting too was, I would go through a phase, I had the story, but I am not an artist. Now, my aunt can write it and illustrate it, and that's fine, but I'm not an artist and I have no clue about that. And so some of the places would say, we would be more interested if you could send illustrations with it. And then I would get others and they would say, um, well, it's good that you don't have illustrations because if we didn't like the illustrations, we would say we didn't like the story. And so, it was always kind of not good. But then I found Janice to do my illustrating, and it had been a dream of mine for years to be able to be bilingual.
Mhm.
I come from a place down in the country, and we didn't even have a foreign language taught in our school when I was in school, way back when the dinosaurs roamed. And I just thought that would be great. And so I have been over the years trying to learn to speak Spanish. I'm getting more serious about it now, but I knew that I did not know enough Spanish to do anything worthwhile with my books. And I thought I'm going to do them in English and Spanish so that other people who aren't English speakers can get some good out of them too. And I went through several of the universities trying to find someone who would like to illustrate, trying to find someone who would like to translate. And we had a gentleman working here for us, and he was a wonderful guy. And when we would talk to him, sometimes he would put his wife on the phone, and she would talk to us, and she had a lovely command of English and of Spanish. And so we got to know them and got to know her. And I said, "Have you ever considered uh, translating for other people?" And she says, "Oh, I do it every chance I get. I like to be able to do that. I really love to serve. I have a heart to serve. And that's one thing I can do well." And so then I talked to her about it, and she agreed that she would translate my books. And what is nice is she does not only translate my books, as well as all of the, not just the stories, but all of that extraneous things that you put into a book. But she also has a mother who does not speak English at all.
Oh,
Um, and she is Spanish speaking. And so as soon as she translates everything, she takes it all over to her mother's and has her mother go over it with a fine tooth comb to make sure that she didn't make any mistakes on the translation.
That's
So
good.
that's a nice thing.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Well, what do you say the theme? We know kind of what the story is pretty much, but what do you think the theme of this book is?
For Tom T's Tale, I think the theme of the book is realizing that you have to put yourself out for somebody else. And sometimes when you do that, the good comes back to you. He did not realize when he walked over and saved this chick's life that the farmer's son was going to see that he pulled that chick out of the bucket and was going to tell the parents, and the parents were going to say, well, we can't have that turkey for Thanksgiving. Let's just keep him on the farm. That wasn't his. He just thought, here's something I could do to help somebody else, and he did it, and it saved his life as well. So I think that it's the idea that even if you are really down in the dumps and blue, if you see something that you can do for somebody else, you should probably do it. And the truth of the matter is, even if it doesn't save your life, sometimes it just lifts your spirits enough to know that you've done something for somebody.
Very
And
good.
yeah,
That's sweet. And then you have all these other books as well.
I do. I have them. I was going to show you. I have them here on my. Can you see them on
Yes,
my
on the
wall?
wall. So what are some of the other themes you have?
Of my books. The ones that I have out are Tom T's Tale. Of course, that was the first one, introduces the turkey and the farm. Then Tom T brightens Toby's day. Tom T turns out to be kind of the elderly gentleman of the farm, and he either tells people stories or he remembers things. In some of the books, he's just remembering how this worked or that happened. Um, and so the first one is all about him. The second one, and you'll see that there on each of the books, there's the farm setup out there, and then there is a specific animal in the foreground of the picture. And then Tom T is kind of back in the back. Tom T is the first one in the first book because it's all about him. But then he moves back, and then the duck comes forward because he brightens Toby's day. And then the third book is about Sydney, the sad little skunk. And so Sydney is in the foreground. You can see Tom T, and the ducks are down further away. And so each of these books does this.
But I mean, what does Toby learn?
Oh, Toby, yes, I'm sorry. I was thinking that about the books. Toby was feeling really down in the dumps because he wanted to be what he wasn't. He wanted to be somebody else. He was
Oh, the
actually
grass was greener.
absolutely thought the grass was greener, as it turns out, in the bird cage, because he could see the little bird that everyone loved, the little canary that was in a cage, and he thought he had it made. He was perfect, and he wanted to be like that. So he was all sad. And Tom T told him a story about when he talked with the bird, and how the bird didn't have it perfect all the time. Toby doesn't have it perfect all the time. But when you try to make the best of things, you make life better for others, and all of a sudden you're feeling better.
Those are great. And then they all are kind of similar in tone.
A sort of thing, yes. That Sydney is not liked. He is a skunk, and he is not liked because of his smell. And they immediately, because of one thing, just because he had a smell they didn't like, they immediately made him an outcast and would not accept him around. And when he saved the chickens' lives, all of a sudden they realized they didn't just have to accept him as he was. They didn't just have to say, I'm sorry because I've been mean to you, but they had to ask his forgiveness for being mean to them before they could even say thank you for saving our lives. So it's kind of a good story. The next one is about a pack of coonhound puppies who are just learning how to be coonhounds. And those are hound dogs that go out and hunt at night with the owners, and how they don't listen to their mother, and so they keep getting into trouble. And so they learn very quickly that they have a choice to make. They can choose to do what is right, and they can choose to listen and pay attention to the people who they're supposed to be listening to, or they can listen to the other dog who takes them off on long jaunts and leaves them out in the woods and stuff. So they learn a lesson there. In the next one, it's called A Job for Dancer. Dancer's a fancy little pony who is being given to the daughter for her birthday. And he comes with a thoughts about himself and a high attitude, and that thinks he's better than everybody else. And so Tom T has to take him for a walk and a talk and explain to him, because he thought he was wonderful, and he saw old Dan, the workhorse, who was just an old workhorse, and he was making fun of him. And nobody makes fun of Dan around the barnyard because they all love Dan. And so he had to explain to him that Dan had saved Lacey's life at one time. And if he was going to make it here, he had to prove that he had the heart that Dan had. So let's see, what's the next one?
Dottie Down Home.
Dottie Down Home. Yes, Dottie is a donkey who just comes in and just gobbles up all the food and is real pushy, and just wants to be in there, but doesn't want the farmer to know she's there because she might have to do work or something. And so Tom has to take her for a walk and talk and explain that she can have a place to live, that she can be accepted, that she could be loved. She's holding everybody out at arm's length because she doesn't want to feel like they're taking advantage of her. And she doesn't realize that she is letting herself miss out on the joy and the love that she could have if she was part of the barnyard family. And then the last one is Anna's Sugar Plum. Mm-hmm. And this is the only one that did not come to me in the middle of the night. Oh. My husband and I were riding a motorcycle down to Kentucky to visit our children who live there.
Oh, bless your heart.
Came to me. And so then after I got home, I said, I have to go write now. And I went to write, and that's what came up. Anna is my granddaughter, and so I named it Anna's Sugar Plum. Anna always had imaginary friends, and she was very quiet and introverted, and she just made up little things. It's partially Annabeth, partially my daughter Lacey mixed together actually in the character. And so she comes to the farm to visit Granny and G Daddy, and it finds a goat. And G Daddy, or the grandfather, the farmer, had always been kidding around about a goat that he had or something. And she came home and she told them that way over on the other side of the lake, they lived on a great big lake, that she had found their granddad's goat. And he said, everybody just laughed and said, oh, that's so funny. And it got to where she was taking feed and taking food around clear to the back of the lake, rowing across this big lake all by herself as a small child, and trying to take care of this goat that she had found in the woods. And when she doesn't show up one night and they realize that she is gone and everybody starts looking for her, then they go out and the animals, led by Tom T and the dog that was supposed to be her buddy and watching her and was sleeping instead, they all went around the lake and they found her with her arms around a baby fawn that she had rescued. And she had told them, she thought it was a goat. She didn't know it was a deer. She thought it was a goat because they always talked about goats and stuff. And so she thought and she couldn't understand why nobody would believe her. But they thought, well, she's got another imaginary friend, So it's kind of a fun one too.
Well, you can find Katy's books on Amazon. You can just go to her website, lkhouk.com, and you can look at the books and then just click on the link. It'll take you right there and you can get them. If you're a school or a library and you want to buy some for the school, you could just go to the same website and just contact Katy, and I'm sure she could work with you.
Sure. As a matter of fact, one school did buy for their Spanish class. They bought books because they thought this would be a good way to give them something besides, the study materials.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for spending this time with us.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate it so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right. Good night.
Good night.